it's really about understanding how to shift beliefs, how to change someone's mind online. I think sometimes we put out a lot of information, and that's something that we do as doctors because
We're used to telling people kind of what to
what
do.
to do. Yeah, but when you can understand how to change someone's mind, that is completely different. And that's the biggest thing that I see. I follow a lot of doctor coaches, and what I notice is we are not shifting anyone's beliefs. If you're not able to shift beliefs, you will not be able to sell.
All right, Dr. Kimmy, head of the Doctor Coach School. What's up? What's good? Welcome to Docs Outside the Box. How you doing?
Good morning. I am doing well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here because I think in many ways, very interested in how doctors over the last, I'd say several years, 5 years, maybe even longer, a lot of doctors have been transitioning to taking a lot of the knowledge that they have, whether it's clinically or in some type of managerial role, maybe in their private practice or, in the hospital. And then they are transitioning it to becoming either consultants or becoming coaches for other doctors or for maybe their patients who want to lose weight. I'm just throwing it out there. And I think this is one of the new raves. And it's very interesting for doctors to transition to this. So you're going to help us understand this stuff. So Dr. Kimmy, you are head of the Doctor Coach School. For those who are listening on the audio version, you're missing out. She's got her logo. She's got everything behind her. She not playing. She ready to go. So Dr. Kimmy, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? Tell us a little bit about your background, and let's just roll with it.
Absolutely. So I am a pediatric hospitalist by training.
Bless your
I
heart.
was, oh yeah,
You got the patience. Veterinary medicine. That's what I call that.
basically.
Can you tell me what's
Um,
going on? Like, damn, they won't talk. Sorry. Do I sound triggered? My bad.
you sound a little triggered, but I get it. I get it. So let's see. So I was actually born in Inglewood, California. Um,
Inglewood.
yes,
All
always up
right.
to no good. So I actually grew up on Inglewood Avenue, the exact street where Insecure was filmed. So I would look out
Okay.
my window and see the dunes every morning. Just a fun fact that I like to share. But I moved
Hmm.
to South Florida when I was 9 and always knew I wanted to be a doctor. My mom was a public health nurse, a pediatric public health nurse. So being a physician was always on the trajectory. And I always knew I would do something peds, but didn't know exactly what. Ended up going to med school at the University of Florida and did residency at Cincinnati Children's Hospital, which is one of the premier children's hospitals in this
Why you
country.
got to
And
shoot for the stars for? Damn. I mean,
I mean, I tried,
isn't that the best? Isn't that the best pediatric program or something like that?
basically, yeah.
All right.
So residency was interesting, mostly good experiences. And after residency, I always wanted to come back to South Florida. I wanted to work at Jackson Memorial Hospital, which, if you're familiar with
Hey, I'm
that,
familiar with there.
yeah, that's
I
the
did my fellowship there.
premier. Oh, wow.
Yeah, for
Small
trauma.
world. Yeah. Oh, Lord. So
Yeah.
you know about Jackson. My goodness. So yes, I always wanted to work at Jackson as a little girl. Basically, it was like if I don't want to work anywhere else. Like Jackson will be the place that I call home. I will stay there forever. So I ended up doing a 2-year academic fellowship, what's called an academic fellowship. But so basically, clinically, I wasn't attending, but I was doing research. So they weren't paying me much, and it was a way to get like some cheap labor out of me, but it was fine because I was doing my research and publishing and things like that. And then I joined the faculty full time in 2012. So I became faculty at the University of Miami, and I had some really great experiences there. I loved teaching the residents. I loved teaching the medical students. I loved my patients. But what I did not love was the bureaucracy of the medical system, the way that basically the institutionalized racism that was perpetuated, not only with the patients, right? But also with those of us who were Black faculty, we were very much in the minority. And I started looking around, and actually my research was in racism in medicine and implicit bias and medical racism. That was where my focus was. But I'm looking around and I'm like, I'm actually complicit in this. Like I am in this system. I am not directly perpetuating it, but I'm a part of the system. And then I also just, had some very negative experiences where I was passed over for roles and then asked to train the folks who had gotten the roles, just lots of horrific experiences. But at the time, I internalized that as imposter syndrome, right? Which is something that I think a lot of Black women struggle with, feeling like an imposter. And the way that showed up for me was I was a procrastinator. I procrastinated on everything. Don't ask me to send in my, stuff to get relicensure. If it's due at noon, you're gonna get it maybe like 11:55, right? Like I was a hot mess. I had a husband, I had two children at the time who were very young. And I was just like putting out fires all day long, every day. I could not focus. And again, I thought it was me. I thought it was just, I'm an imposter. I feel like an imposter. I'm a failure. When really it was the systemic influences that were negatively impacting me. So all this came to a head basically in 2017 when my mother, who I already mentioned, ended up passing away.
Ooh.
And yeah,
So
it was
that's a huge pillar in your life.
that
That had to be
huge.
tough.
It was absolutely horrible. And what the reason I have my business now and where all of this started is because of this moment. So after she died, after the funeral, I'm sitting in our house and I'm looking around and, trying to decide what to keep and what to throw away. And I look over and I see a manila envelope that was really thick and I picked it up. And for some reason, I decided to open it and flip through it. And the contents of it, when I recognized what it was, I completely took my breath away. I felt like someone had like punched me in the gut because my mother, I realized, had written a book by hand. Like, who does that? Nobody writes a book by hand. She had written a book by hand like 20 years prior and never told anyone about it. She never told my brother. She never told her siblings. So basically, she passed away essentially with her intellectual property that nobody got to benefit from. And it was going to be a dope book. It was a book on weight loss, like as like faith and weight loss, like how to integrate your faith when you're trying to lose weight. Because my mom had lost over 100 pounds early in her life and kept it all off. And that was a pivotal moment for me. That was the moment as I was sitting there with tears streaming down my face, I decided I was going to change my life. I was going to walk in my purpose. And eventually now I see kind of the breadcrumbs of that now I help other Black women solidify their intellectual property, put that on into the world and get paid for it. And it really all came down to that moment in my mom's
What?
living room.
So why do you think she didn't put it out? You think just kind of life happened and stuff, or what
I
do you think?
think,
I know
I
you
mean,
could never absolutely know, but
I don't know for sure. I mean, she was a
Mm.
single mom, so it could have been just that like life was lifing, but I honestly think she was scared. I honestly think that she probably just didn't have, have just the fact that she never told anyone about it lets me know that there was something that there was fear associated with that. And I
Mm.
can understand that because as someone who's in business now, it is scary to put your ideas and your thoughts into the world. So I just think that she got cold feet and it breaks my heart because I almost wish I wish I could tell her like, Mom, I wish I knew I would have helped you. Like somebody would have helped you, but it's
So this
my
is like
desire. Yeah,
this is like a handwritten manuscript, basically. Is that what
a
you're saying?
handwritten manuscript.
How many
Yeah.
pages are we talking about?
I mean, it was thick. I don't know how much it would translate to type.
Hmm.
I am going to eventually get it published someday, which is going to be an experience. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can
it was,
imagine.
yeah. So that's
This is
really started the journey for me to entrepreneurship.
Oh, okay. So now we're talking 2017. We're talking about you see that something was holding back your mother with her book, failure to launch, so to speak, and you're realizing that there's some things that you need to work on, whether it's imposter syndrome, possibly procrastination. You're just busy. So what was that journey like? Because I know that you oftentimes talk about building systems, right? So I'm assuming that was a huge part, a big
That
pillar
was
of your transformation.
absolutely. So, I mean, the first thing I had to do was get a therapist because I was grieving my mom's death and I was dealing with, understanding like what is imposter syndrome? What is it not? Like, why am I showing up like this in my life? So, therapy was the first step that I took.
How
And
long did you do
then,
therapy for?
I still do therapy. I
Hmm.
love, like, everyone should have a therapist. I believe
But they make it really hard for doctors to
they
think about
do.
getting therapy because you get concerned about the questions that they ask, like on state board licensing examinations.
Absolutely.
You're concerned that you may get diagnosed with something. You don't want to use your insurance.
Yeah,
It's expensive to
it
pay
is.
out of
It's
pocket.
hard to find one that,
Yeah.
it's a horrible system. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah, and I think that unfortunately, I think a lot of people, a lot of physicians, I think a lot of healthcare practitioners, they're suffering in silence. So I appreciate you, saying that. The reason I mention that is that like we just need more people kind of talking about this. And
Yeah.
I think like 2 weeks ago, the I want to say the California, uh, I forget what the Surgeon General for California, she came out as bipolar actually,
Wow.
which was really interesting, right? To have such a high esteemed position, but
Wow.
that's a tangential situation. But I just want to say kudos for you for getting
Thank
therapy.
you.
Thank you for letting people know that you still get it. So my
Yeah.
bad. Therapy
No,
was
no
part of the
worries.
was part of
So
the road,
therapy
and
was
then
part of the
yeah.
journey. And then I found a book. I don't know if you've heard of this book. It's called The 5 Second Rule by Mel
Oh
Robbins.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Changed my life because what I learned was I could override my primitive brain systems that were trying to keep me like kind of stuck in what I call the cave of procrastination and imposter syndrome and overwhelm. Like I could override that. I wasn't a victim to it. I had control. So I started utilizing her approach of, she says, say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then get out of bed, right? Or do whatever that thing is that you've been procrastinating on doing. I say I can do hard things, which is still 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can do hard things. And I just started with something really small in my life. And that was just waking up in the morning without snoozing. And for
That's
about a
impossible.
year, it's,
That's
trust me,
impossible, Dr. Kimmy.
I was
That is
the
impossible.
worst snoozer. Listen. I was the worst snoozer. I'm talking about I would either snooze my alarm like 6 times, or I would just like set 6 alarms. And then the last one is like, you have to get up. Like this was my life every single day. And since I would say around like early 2018, I don't snooze. I do not snooze. I
You're
wake up
lying.
now. I
Bring your husband on the phone, man. Let me talk to him. You don't
no,
believe it.
he will
You
tell
don't
you.
snooze not once. Not
Don't
once.
I don't
So
snooze.
you wake up
Now,
and you ready to go.
I'll tell you what I do. If I, like, for instance, I'm not feeling well this week, I'm a little bit under the weather. So why lie to myself and say I'm going to like wake up at 6 when I know I'm not? I'm just going to set my alarm for 8 or for 9. But then when I set it, I keep a promise to myself. I get out of bed
Okay. All right. All right.
because here's what I learned. That time that I said I was gonna wake up, that's the first promise I break to myself in the morning. And then I've already lost trust with myself by like 6 a.m. Then I try to go do something hard, like write a blog post. Ain't no way I'm writing a blog post when I can't even get out of bed, right? So like the first thing I had to do was learn how to just rebuild my own self-trust. And I did it with snoozing. And then what I noticed is I actually started doing hard things in my life. I started turning in like papers on time. And if I had a lecture to do, I wasn't waiting till the night before, which was like the norm for me. So slowly but surely, I put those systems and processes, and there are others, but like that was the foundation. I put those in place in my life, and I noticed that my life was completely changing,
Mm.
which was
Okay.
amazing. And
All
I
right. Well,
wanted to help other women do the same. And that's how kind of the business of it started.
okay. So for the sake of the story, let's continue down that trend because I'm actually interested because I know now you're coaching doctors in various forms. You're coaching primarily women, correct?
Yes,
Okay. So you're helping them to develop coaching programs of their own, correct?
correct. Yes.
Okay, so like, why is that such a big deal now? Because I think most doctors are like, look, man, I work clinical medicine, or I'm private practice. Like, why is there such right now like a big push in your opinion? Because you're working with these people. Why are they coming to you saying, hey, I want to create this type of coaching program? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, the pandemic has really unearthed a lot of medicine, like the underbelly of medicine. The things that we were dealing with were really heightened during the pandemic. And physicians are basically just like waking up and realizing that they do have other options, right? Like it, when we're at the bedside and when we're working with patients, we're so separated from the money that we don't actually realize that our brain is generating that hospital system or that clinic millions of dollars every single year,
Yeah, that's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
We don't realize that we're so separated from it. But I think shows like yours and podcasts like mine, where we're talking about this, just helps people to see like, wait, I am someone, especially the women I work with, I work primarily with women of color. They've been through so much in their lives that they have an amazing story of transformation. And they've just started to realize, like, I can help someone with this. I don't have to be beholden to this one way of making money for the rest of my life. And so I think it's a multitude of factors, but I've seen it really ramp up since the pandemic. I mean, that's when I started my business. I started it like officially started making money in 2020 at the height of the lockdowns and every all the craziness that was happening. And it was just because women were yearning, doctors in general were yearning for something more, and they started to see that it was possible for them. Now there's still a lot of things that, kind of hold us back, and that's why I'm so glad we're doing this episode today.
Oh
But
yeah.
at least they're starting to see that it is possible for them.
So, several years ago, I started coaching other students, or excuse me, I started coaching other doctors on starting a podcast. But I had beta group after beta group after beta group, gamma group, whatever, any type of, Greek letter that you can put on it that would go before actually starting a course. And the hardest part for me was just realizing that, okay, I'm a trauma surgeon. I can operate myself out of anything, right? Stabbing, what have you, kid, adult, what have you. Like, that's my bag, right? But actually, like, stepping to the side and actually thinking that me as a trauma surgeon and my background, did I have enough knowledge to teach people on a consistent basis how to podcast and they should pay attention to me was really hard. Right. So what is it that, because I'm sure you got a ton of doctors who are coming to you and they're like, yo, I could do this really hard thing that everybody in the world perceives to be extremely hard. Only like less than 1% of the population can do. How is it that you're able to get them past that hiccup of creating a course or finding that one thing that they think they can be really good at and then being able to market it towards someone else who would buy that? Because that's got to be really tough. And that's really tough
Yeah.
for me. So I'm very interested in how you do that.
Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. And I think the reason that is tough is what I said earlier. And then also, again, like we have sort of been programmed in the medical industrial complex to, be separated from the money and to also like they treat us like we're robots. And so we start to actually believe that we are. So one of the first things I do with my clients is I actually help them. The step one, before you do anything, before you buy any websites or do anything, you need to get sold on yourself. I teach my clients how to sell themselves on themselves. Now, interestingly, you can't sell anything to anyone if you're not sold on yourself first. If you don't have, like I said, that internal self trust to be able to show up on the days when you're hearing crickets on social media or no one is downloading your podcast or whatever the case may be,
Just your
you have
mother
to be.
downloading it or
It's
your
just your
father
mama
or
and your auntie.
family
Yep.
members.
Been
I've
there.
been
Like,
there. Yeah, I know what you talk about.
listen. So
Hmm.
you have to be so sold on yourself that you're able to separate who you are from those achievements or lack of achievement, right? From failures. Like the greatest entrepreneurs are the ones that are able to fail fast. And we hear that, right? We hear that and we know that, but we're not really good at failing. We're doctors. We ain't trying to fail. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
trying to fail on purpose. Like, what are
Well,
you
I think
telling me?
I think I think a part of it too is I think that you know I think high achieving people sometimes will look at other people who are high achieving in something else and they want to do that, but they forget, for example, what it's like to start off of like zero followers, right? So, for
Uh,
example, like people are watching like Will Smith, right? And granted, Will Smith is Will Smith, but like I remember when he came on and he had like 100 followers. Then it kind of increased and increased, and he kept putting videos out. Obviously, Will Smith is an extreme example, but the question is, are you willing to go back down to the trenches and kind of
yes.
work for a while and believe in something even more so when nobody else believes in you? That's the
That's
toughest
the
part,
key.
I
That's
think.
the key. That's the key.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's because, and I love how you said go back down into the trenches because society has elevated us. We have the quote unquote premier job. We have made it. Like, why would you want to now reduce yourself to being a novice so where you have to learn something new that you've never done before and you're going to look crazy? Like, that's one of the things that I work with my clients on because if I'm asking them to do live videos every week to talk about their coaching or share their story, it's like, you want me to press play on a live video, what if no one shows up? Or what if,
It's like a live grand rounds for them. They feel nervous. That's
yeah,
how I felt when people told me to do that. I was like, I
exactly.
felt like I'm doing grand rounds, even though it has
Exactly.
nothing to do clinically. So
Yeah, we feel like
it's
we're
for real.
being put on the spot.
Yeah.
And we don't want to feel like a novice. We don't want to feel like we are green and like we've reached the pinnacle of education. And then I'm asking you to like start something from scratch. It can be so hard. And so one of the things when you're sold on yourself, and also, once you're the second step is being sold on what you're going to sell. Like you actually have to be sold on the transformation you can provide someone else before you can sell it. That is the little known secret that most people don't talk about when they're talking about selling. Most people think selling is a script and it's just words that you say. It's not. It's the energy behind those words. If you actually believe in what you're selling and what you're saying, then you'd be willing to fail over and over and over again. I mean, like we all started with zero followers and zero podcast downloads and zero people buying our stuff. I mean, now I'm at the point where I have, a multi six figure business, but it didn't start that way. I started off selling like a $1,000 online course that I had to hustle to get people to buy.
Hmm.
So it's a learning and growing process, but no one in their right mind is gonna want to do that. Like it sounds crazy. Like why would you
Right.
subject yourself to that? So being sold on yourself, understanding your why, and really being sold on that transformation, those are the keys first before I can tell you what to say on a sales call. Or we can talk about how to show up on your live videos. Like that has to be the first step.
Okay, so that makes sense because and I gotta admit that's got to be the hardest thing to get past. Um, I don't. You don't have to give me all, or you don't have to give us all the next steps. Um, but I'm interested, to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. So
Well,
after,
no, you don't have to give us the next. What I want to know is like specifically like when someone is trying to say, okay, well, I want to take, you know, a certain amount of people through something. I want to build something that's going to transform this person that's purchasing my course. So, for example, I want to take someone who really has a bunch of thoughts in their mind, and I want them to be able to get that into a microphone and put it out into a podcast.
mhm.
But I see these courses. They're online. They're digital. They're on all the different, what I figure with Thinkific and Kajabi and all these different things. Like how do I even do that? Like, is there a step-by-step process that you take people through to maybe develop a course or whatever, a coaching program, so that they feel like they can create something without them feeling like they're recreating the wheel, if you know what I'm talking about? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, absolutely, absolutely. One of the things I'm laughing when you said like Thinkific or Kajabi. One of my clients came to me and she was like, Dr. Kimmy, I feel like I can't start selling because I don't have a Kajabi like you do. And I'm like, would you stop using my Kajabi against me?
Hmm.
I started with Zoom. I started with Zoom. So
Yeah.
here's the thing. Step one, right? Like when I talk about getting sold on the transformation, the first thing you have to do is understand like what are you selling? What is the transformation? And really, really dig into that. For my clients, now my program is a little bit different. I actually do not coach folks. Like I will turn you away if you want to start a program that's like clinically based, right? So if you want to do something where
Mm.
you're like educating people on something with clinical, like related to like you're an OB-GYN and you want to help moms like I don't know, with some I don't help folks like that. Now, I'm sure there's folks out there that will help you, but I am really, and I'm going to explain why in just a second, but I really want to work with people who have transformed their life in some way and now want to help others do the same, right? And the reason is that on the days when again, no one's listening to you, ain't nobody checking out your stuff, like your why has to be so strong. What I found is that the doctors I've worked with who have a story who have a strong transformation that they've been through. Maybe they've lost 30 pounds and kept it off, or maybe they are an OB-GYN, but then one of my clients, went through menopause and her life kind of fell apart. And then she like was able to overcome that and start her own business. I helped her start a podcast. I helped her sign her first clients. Like if you have a story that you've overcome, like your why has to be so big because again, the days are going to be really, really challenging. So that's the first thing is really getting clear on what you're selling. The second thing you want to do is you want to start taking your story and pivoting that into your intellectual property. That's one, as you can imagine from my story with my mom, that's one of the biggest things that I'm proud of is that I help my clients really hone their IP, hone their intellectual
What does
property.
that mean? You mean like take their story and make a book or make a podcast? What does that
No.
mean?
So for me, I'm going to ask you, how did you overcome that?
Hmm.
Like whatever transformation, like what was step one? What was step two? What was step three? And it's so funny because when we go through things and we overcome them, especially for something that is a few years out, we will downplay it and be like, oh, I don't really know. I mean, I just did it. I just like exercised and ate well. And it's like,
Hmm.
no, 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 no. What had to be going on in your brain when you were out to dinner and everyone was ordering cake and you decided to order salad? Like what
Oh,
was
I see.
that
So you're
about?
talking about like how do you create like a how do you make a how did you make your system basically? How do you delineate a system
Exactly.
so that this could be replicatable or replicable?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
exactly.
Okay, so
Exactly.
how do you take your transformation into a system? Basically, is that what you're kind of
Exactly.
talking?
So
Okay.
I help them to pivot it into an actual protocol. So I
Hmm.
want you to be able, because I want to help my clients have a scalable business. Like my business right now is scalable. I could work with 100, 200 physicians at a time and nothing would be lost. But it's because I have a system that is replicable. Like you said, I have a process. And so I help my clients to turn whatever their transformation was into a process. And like I said, we downplay what we do so much. Like sometimes this is the hardest thing for people to like take the what was happening in their brain. They're like, oh, I just kind of did it. No, there was something that you did that other people are not doing because they would have the same results as you would. So there's something unique about what you were able to do. So that's the second thing I help them to do. And the last thing is we need to now take that process and sell it to others. So if you're thinking about starting a course or starting a coaching program, my suggestion to you is always going to be to serve your first client and get them amazing, massive results just via like a Zoom one-on-one session with them. Before, what I've seen so many people do, so I had a client who
So you're saying don't create the course first, like
do
take
not
someone
create,
through.
listen, do not create the course first. I'm going to give you an example. I had a client who, before she found me, she was in her office for like 6 months creating this course. And she was recording videos, and I'm sure they were great. I'm sure that they were fantastic, but she wasn't getting that feedback from actual people, right? It was just her
Mm.
and her video camera. So what ended up happening was she packaged up this beautiful course on Thinkific, right? And she set up her price and crickets, right? Like nobody bought. So then what she ended up having to do is she just slowly had to lower her price. It became a race to the bottom just to try to get anyone to go through it so that they could give her feedback and
Mm.
testimonials. So then what happened was she ended up pricing her course for like $1 a month,
Wait,
right?
what? Really?
$1 a month. She spent 6 months working on this, but she's like, I just want people to buy it. So people started buying it. She had like maybe 10 or 15, 20 people actually buy it. But here's the thing, because it was so cheap, people had no skin in the game. There was no investment for them to actually go through the course. So, like, 3 months later, they're like, what is this bill that you're sending me for $1? What did I sign up for this? Did I pay for this? Right. So she still didn't get like all the testimonials and the feedback that she needed. She came to me,
Because they didn't do the
they,
course.
they didn't do it. There
Right.
was no investment, right? On their part, there was no skin in the game. And that's just
So
how it
she
is with humans.
so she created a course, and probably the biggest things is she created a course without any feedback from her from people who would actually buy the course,
Yeah.
and then she dropped the price to a point where it doesn't motivate the user to take the test or to take her course because
Yeah.
what's $1 a month? Like I'll do it later and stuff. So,
I'll do it
okay.
later. I'll put it off to the point that they forgot about it. So when she came to me, she was very discouraged because she's like, I know that this is something I'm supposed to do. I know that I have a business inside of me. I have an amazing transformation. We worked together and we basically pivoted that course into an actual online program, into a coaching program where she could serve humans face to face first, right? Like, let's do that first. Let's work with people. Let's understand because there's something so powerful about speaking to someone face to face. You tell them something or you help them, and then they're like, well, I don't really get that. And then you have to say it a different way, right? Like
Yeah.
that's going to inform what you then put on the videos that is going to last for years and years. So,
I think when people, I think the one thing too is I think people forget because we're like in a gig economy or because, you see so many people selling courses, I think we forget or we forget the part of creating some type of buy-in, right? People are
yes,
investing in you, right? So before they purchase a course from you at a really high ticket price, which may be worth it, but if they don't know anything about you, like if they've never heard you on a podcast, if haven't read your blogs, or if they haven't seen a YouTube video of you, or like you said, if you haven't, given like a beta group or something like that, like how can you really connect with someone who you haven't met before and say, hey, buy my $4.99 course or my
right.
1,000 whatever it may be course and stuff. So I think that's really interesting for the audience because, we are trained we got to study first. We got to study first
Yes,
and then we do questions, right?
yes.
Which, anybody who's taken board examinations and struggled with them, oftentimes what we find out it's the opposite, right? Like you have to do as many questions so that you
Questions.
can understand what the test takers want you to understand. And then every now and then you can kind of fill in with some knowledge in there.
Yes.
So like this is the same thing, right? Rather than do the course, you want to know what your audience or the people who are listening to you or who may buy from you, what do they want first and then build a course around them. Did I get it right or
Yeah,
am I making it?
absolutely. No,
Okay.
absolutely. I love how you said like we do like to study first, right? And
Mhm.
another example of that is clients I have who have gotten like certification after certification after certification, but still haven't actually
Yeah.
coached any clients or changed any lives. It's this exact same thing. Like get in front of people. So what I specialize in is I not only help you build your program, but I'm going to teach you how to market and to sell. Right. Like I consider myself to be a master at sales, at high ticket sales, because I don't actually believe in like cheap coaching and courses. Like I don't believe in that. I think
Dr.
we
Kimmy, what's high ticket? Tell us. Come on, give us a
so
little skip.
5K or above. 5K or
Damn! Are you serious? That's what I'm talking about. Look at
my
you. She's
clients
like,
do it.
ah. So when I
My
said four
clients
ninety
do
nine,
it.
you're like, add another nine.
I was like,
499.99.
49.99, right? And my
All right.
clients, and that's the thing. A lot of times we feel like we have to like start low and like stair step our way up. Like I'm gonna start with like a 4.99 whatever, and then eventually make it up. Like you don't have to do that. Like my client once again, the same client, once we got her process together, I taught her how to sell, I taught her how to market, I taught her how to call in her people and shift their beliefs online. She started selling her program for 5K. She just texted me. She's had her second five-figure launch. Like this is someone who was selling a $1 per month program is now changing lives. Like when I think about the people, like she basically, I'm actually going to give you her information. She would be great for your show. Her name is Dr. Alana. She's a trauma psychiatrist. And when I think about the lives that she has changed, just because of the work that I do, it is amazing. Like, how many lives were we going to change with that $1 course? Maybe a couple, but now she has this scalable program where she can affect so many people and she is just like killing it. And I'm just so proud of her. And it's possible. It is possible when you understand how to market, you understand how to sell. It's really about understanding how to shift beliefs, how to change someone's mind online. I think sometimes we do a lot of like, we put out a lot of information and that's something that we do as doctors because That's what we're used to
That's
doing.
what
We're used to
you're used to giving
teaching,
we're used to telling people
educating
kind of what to
what
do.
to do. Yeah, but when you can understand how to change someone's mind, that is completely different from just educating them or throwing out tidbits of information. That's the biggest thing that I see. I follow a lot of coaches, a lot of doctor coaches, and what I notice is we are not shifting anyone's beliefs. If you're not able to shift beliefs, you will not be able to sell. You
So
have
what's
to
the components? What's the components of a $5,000 course? Because I think a lot of people want something that it's like the passive income thing, right? Like I want to put an initial investment into something and then it will be quote unquote evergreen, right? Like maybe create like this completely self-directed course and sell it for $5,000. Is that realistic? Or because I'm assuming at 5K, you got to have some type of live interaction with the people who are purchasing your course. Am I right? Or help me
I
understand,
mean,
because I think just sort of to set the stage so people know, like this is more than just creating a course that's just self-directed, right? Like this is
right,
more,
right. This is a
or even a coaching
coaching
program. Excuse me.
program,
Sorry.
but I will say, for instance, my program has a course component, right? So I call my program a hybrid coaching program. So I have a self-directed course. So when you sign up for the Doctor Coach School, you will basically be able to hit the ground running and go through all of the modules in my program at your own pace, right? But then on top of that, I do have a community component, right? So we have the course, we have the community, which I host on Slack. So my clients are able to connect with each other, ask questions, get feedback, things like that. And then we have the coaching component. So once a week for an hour and a half, I meet with them, I answer questions, I take them through an activity. I usually use this whiteboard that you're seeing here, and I'll coach them live. And so we have all of those components. Now, to answer your question, for a self-paced course, most self-paced courses are going to cap out at, like, the highest I've seen has been like a 3K course. Now, could there
Mm.
be some that are higher? Sure. I just haven't really seen it. And I think it would be, you'd be a little hard pressed to be able to have a fully self-paced course that was 5K. Is it possible? Potentially, potentially. So I think that if you want to go the course route and put something on Evergreen, my recommendation is still going to be the same. Find someone, coach them one on one, understand what their challenges are, understand what the things that are holding them back, understand, like, okay, I'm telling you to do this. And then they're like, oh, that's a little messy. I don't really get it. Right. Understand that first, then you can package that up into a freestanding course and sell that. Right. But like my recommendation is going to be the same, because you don't want to be like my first client, right? Like I love her. She's amazing. You do want to be
Drop
like
names,
her.
Dr. Kimmy,
You do
drop
want to be
names.
like
Come on
her.
now.
Her name's Dr. Alana, and she shared her story openly. She talks about it on my
Okay.
podcast. But like, you want to be like her now, but you don't want to, have this sort of race to the bottom where you're in your office for 6 months at a time, just like churning away at all these videos, and you don't even know who's going to buy it or whether or not it's going to help anyone.
Okay.
Start serving people first.
So let's say someone doesn't have that mindset issue where they're like, look, man, what I'm selling, anybody will buy. I can sell ice to a Eskimo. You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah.
a doctor. I can sell ice to an Eskimo. I need like some guidance. How long does it take to go from having an idea, knowing what your transformation is, or let's say even just knowing what your system is? How long does that take, that timeline, to creating something to then the next step, taking through a beta group and then fine tuning it to something that you have as like this fully functioning program that, you want to sell at a price that, doesn't make you cringe? How long does that process take for that type of person?
So if someone, for whatever reason, felt like they were a beast at sales and they were able to, I mean, I just haven't found that person yet. I mean, I'm that person now, but let's say, so like if I were going to do a course, right, and I were going to walk someone through
Mm-hmm.
a group and then pivot that into an online course, I could probably, depending on how long I worked with that group for, let's say I worked with that group for like 60 to 90 days, I could probably have that done in like 4 to 5 months or so. I
Mm,
personally,
okay.
I think you could. I think you could. Um,
So
I
that's already taking a beta group through stuff and getting the feedback like this course sucks or this course is great
Yeah.
or okay, and
I
then
mean,
fine tuning.
you could. I would personally recommend doing a group at least twice, because there may be some personality things with certain groups that like each group, what I've found, each group that you work with has its own personality, believe it or not. The way folks interact with each other, I'd want to do at least twice to be able to see. But theoretically, if I got it done in one group and I felt reasonably comfortable, maybe 5 or 6 months max to be able to flesh something out. I mean, and
Hey,
that's only because I think I have so much experience in this now. Like if
so
someone were just starting, that might be a little bit more challenging for them.
let me ask you then. So to get a beta group, because I think a lot of people are like, all right, so it probably sounds like for me, the next step for me is probably getting a beta group at some point. Like, how do you entice a beta group to like take your course, or like what are the enticements that you're giving them? What are the things that you're getting them to be like, all right, I'm going to get some type of skin in the game in order to take a course that possibly is not finished, is not going to look the same when I finish it. Like, how do you get them to buy in? Are we talking about a significant decrease in the price? Or are you telling them, I think this course is like $9.99 and I'm only going to give it to you for like $1? Like, what are the things that you're supposed to do to get these people to be like, I'm going to take your beta course?
Yeah. So people like being a part of history. Like
Okay.
people like being the first. So if you sell it as like, well, I've never done it before, and like this is kind of a risk, like nobody's gonna want to do that. But if you're like, look, you are going to be like my foundation member, right? Like you're going to be a pioneer. You're just like setting the stage for like everyone who's going to come behind me. Like people want to be a part. Like people, when the train is leaving the station, like people want to get on board, right? So if you position yourself as I'm a train that's leaving the station, you probably want to get on board because I'm never going to be this cheap again. And you want to be able to say that you were with me in the very beginning, like you were with me, like, practice. What is the phrase? Shooting hoops in the gym, whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
you want to position it like that. People will buy.
A little Drake. It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shooting in the
yeah. You know
gym.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
Like
got you.
people will buy. People will
Hmm.
buy. So my very first group was in 2020. I did not charge them enough money, so that's neither here nor there. But people were willing because they knew, and they understood that I was on a trajectory and they wanted to be a part of that. So people will say yes. I don't think you necessarily even have to position it as, oh, I'm only going to sell it for $1. Because again, you want people to have skin in the game. So it's really just about your positioning. It's about how you sell yourself, really, and how
Got you.
you sell that program and focusing in on the transformation. That's another key I just wanted to quickly say. Don't focus on the features of like, oh, it's a 12-week program and this is how many sessions you have and this is how, like, people don't care. Who
That's a good
will
point.
I
Yeah.
be?
Yeah.
What will I be able to do, or what will I be able to have at the end of this program? If you sell them on that transformation, they will buy.
All right, Dr. Kimmy, then help me then. How do I, so help me with the transformation for my podcasting course. What's the transformation that
Okay,
I'm looking for? So I'll be your test. I'll be your alpha group. How about that? I'm not even going to be
perfect.
your beta group. All right. So I think I have the skills to teach other doctors to start a podcast because we need more doctors like expressing their voice out there. Ain't nobody in the healthcare complex listening to them. And I think if they go around and, use digital media, I think that we could change music or excuse me, we could change medicine from the outside. So I think that podcasting is one of the great forms of communicating. So
Yeah,
help me. What should I do?
yeah. So first, have you figured out your process?
Oh yeah, I got my process down packed.
Perfect.
I got like 300 episodes. I got everything kind of set up. I even, who I was 5 years ago on this podcast is not the same Dr. Nee that you're hearing now. So
Yeah.
I definitely have refined a lot of things. So
Yeah. Okay. So you have your process. You understand the point A and the point B. So who is the doctor you're trying to sell to?
So I am looking for doctors who are That's a good question. Okay, good, good, good. This is good. This is good. This is good. Yeah, that's a good question. All right. So I'm looking for doctors who are obviously already in practice, who have a little bit of experience, but just feel like their voice is kind of stifled, right? So we're talking about people who are pretty much like early attendings to mid career attendings. So we're
Okay.
talking realistically like late 30s, mid 40s, men and women. We're talking about those who kind of wanted to go into medicine, to kind of change medicine, to kind of change, their societal standing, but are kind of realizing that you're just a cog in a wheel. And if you stay in this type of system, you're really not going to have the impact that you kind of wanted to have.
Yeah.
So that kind of background. The guys are those who, they watch sports on TV. They watch maybe, they watch, yeah, a little bit of some news on TV. They see, maybe some entertainers who have been able to, pivot their careers, like the LeBron James, the Tom Brady's. So they're like, well, they did one thing and they're transitioning to something else. So why can't I do that? The women, on the other hand, they've been bosses from the get-go and are realizing that in some form or fashion, like they speak up at work and nobody's listening to them. And they want to be able to kind of, have that gravitas and so forth. I don't know exactly what they're kind of aspiring to in terms of like, are they focusing maybe on politicians or focusing on authors and so forth? I got to figure that out. But that's
Mhm.
kind of the people who we're looking to transform. Is that too
Got it.
wide?
No, I mean, I think that's good. So you have the
Okay.
demographics. What I would challenge you to do is understand the psychographics next. Like,
What? What is that? Talk to us about that. That's interesting.
listen, you might have to join the, we might have to make an exception and allow Dr. Me. I
Okay.
only work with women, but I mean, we might have
Okay.
to let you slip in.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
have a whole module on like getting into their brain. It's not just about who they are on paper. That's great. Understanding that is the first step, but you got to understand like how they think, how they move, like what excites them. Because when you understand that, now that's the foundation to help changing their mind, right? Like shifting their beliefs. So that's like the first step. And then I would say, I mean, so you already have the process. What is standing what do you feel has standing in your way of like getting that program out there?
Well, I think the big thing is just getting more people to know about the program, right? Like I think we've gone through beta and multiple betas, and I think we've
Hmm.
refined it to a point where it's a combination. It's a program. Like this is not a
Hmm.
course, right? So it's a
Right.
program where you're meeting with me. There's a component where there's also an ability for the people who are taking a course to interact with each other. It may not be Slack, but it's Facebook. Um,
Hmm.
and there's also an ability to have a direct recording session with me so that you can kind of
Perfect.
practice your skills and so forth. The
Yeah.
key thing is that I haven't been marketing it very well. And two, that's basically it. I haven't been marketing it well. And, that's something that I would like to work on. So I'm interested, Dr. Kimmy, like, the psychographics of what motivates someone. Like, is that more than just the pain points? Like, how do you
It
figure out
is.
that is the pain points? Okay.
No, it is more than just the pain points. It's more
Okay.
than just the pain point, especially if your program is high ticket, which I hope it is. It should be.
Hmm.
Um, Pain is one thing, but there's also, desire. So I teach my clients desire-based marketing. We actually don't do pain point marketing. You do need to understand their pain points, but I find for high ticket, like you want to move beyond just the pain points and understand their desires. So that is the key. I bet you know what their desires are. I wonder if it's really just a messaging issue for you, just like
Mm.
a messaging and marketing. So there's three levels to messaging. Again, you guys gonna have to come to the Dr. Coach School. I got you, y'all. I've got you. If you're listening, if you're like, wait, how do I do all of this? So there's three levels to messaging, right? There's information, there's confirmation, and then there's transformation. If you want to sell high ticket, you have to understand how to market transformational based messages. Like you cannot just be spewing information. Confirmation is better. Like kind of people kind of they feel that you know where they are and like you understand them. That's better than just information, but transformation, that is the key. Like when you understand how to message through transformation, you will have people raising their hand and like wanting to throw their money at you. And that's what my clients, like I said, you can right out the gate sell a 5K program when you understand how to shift people's beliefs.
Mm. There it is, guys. There's Dr. Kimmy. the Doctor Coach, the Doctor Coach School, CEO, founder, creator, all of
Yes.
that. So this was great. This was a really good opportunity for you
Yes.
guys to kind of hear what it's like to create a program, 30,000 foot view, but we got a little bit granular with it. I think it's really important for us to understand kind of like, listen, like, in order to sell, that's something that we're not used to doing because, we're used to kind of just using our minds and realizing that our mind and what we know is going to make money for us, as opposed to marketing and selling. That's something that we just don't get the training in. But it doesn't mean that we can't participate in this
Absolutely.
online community. And I think it's really important
Absolutely.
for us to really differentiate ourselves, not only clinically, but also what we can bring outside of the hospital. I think that's just going to all make us better with healthcare. It's going to make us,
100%.
better with our patients. And I think that it will create an atmosphere where, there's a checks and balances on hospitals and hospital systems. Because
Absolutely.
if you have doctors who can say, hey, like, I don't like the way in which things are going with, medicine at this facility. Maybe I just need to detach for a little bit. I think that allows that physician or maybe whatever practitioner it may be to kind of do things in the vision, the purpose that they want to do. And
Absolutely.
I think, a lot of times, we kind of aspire to that, but we don't actually take the reins. So,
Yep.
Dr. Kimmy, this was dope. Thank you so
This
much.
was
Why don't you
so fun.
tell people about the Dr. Coach School, how they can get in contact with you, how they can learn more about your
Yeah.
coaching school.
Absolutely. So, the Dr. Coach School is a 12-month all-inclusive program where I teach you how to become a transformational coach, learn how to market, and learn how to sell, all through understanding how to shift beliefs. So, if you are interested in learning more, you can actually go to thedrcoachschool.com. From there, you can find my podcast of the same name, the Dr. Coach School podcast. So, you can check out all my episodes there. You can also just jump on our email list if you like, or you can set up a call with me. If you've heard something today and you're just like, I know that this is where I want to be, there's actually a place on there where you can click work with me and set up a call, get on my calendar, and we'll see whether or not you are a good fit for the Dr. Coach School.
Love it. All right, everyone. Make sure you check out the drcoachschool.com. Check out Dr. Kimmy. Dr. Kimmy, thanks for coming on Docs Outside the Box.
Thanks for having me. So much fun.